You've done it before. You said yes when everything inside you was screaming no. You shrunk yourself down just to make someone else comfortable. You apologized for things that weren't even your fault. You stayed quiet when you had every right to speak. And later, when you were alone, you sat with that feeling, that heavy, quiet feeling that something wasn't right, that you gave away a piece of yourself, and you're not sure you'll ever get it back. If you know that feeling, this video is for you. Let me ask you something honest. When was the last time someone treated you badly? And instead of walking away, you tried harder. You bent over backwards trying to prove your worth. You explained yourself over and over again. You chased someone's approval like your life depended on it. Maybe it was a boss who never noticed your work, a friend who only called when they needed something, a family member who always had something critical to say, or maybe someone you loved who made you feel like you were never quite enough. And here's the painful part. It wasn't just them. You started doing it to yourself too. You started questioning your own value. You started believing that if you just changed a little more, worked a little harder, talked a little differently, maybe then you'd finally be enough. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. And most people spend their entire lives trapped in that cycle, shrinking, apologizing, bending, and never once stopping to ask, why do I keep doing this to myself? Here's what I want you to know. You don't have to keep living that way. There's a different path, and people have been walking it for over 2,000 years. It's called Stoicism. And before you think this is some ancient philosophy lecture, it's not. These are just simple, powerful truths about how to protect your dignity, your peace, and your sense of self. The Stoics, people like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they didn't just write pretty words. They lived through betrayal, loss, poverty, war, slavery, and loneliness. And through all of that, they figured something out, something most of us are never taught. Your worth cannot be given to you by another person, and it cannot be taken away by one either. Today, I want to share 7 lessons from Stoic wisdom, not as rules, but as gentle reminders. Because somewhere deep inside, you already know these things. You just need someone to say them out loud. Here's something that changed everything for me when I first understood it. Most of the suffering we carry, the anxiety, the people-pleasing, the desperate need for validation, it all comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control in the first place. What other people think of you, whether someone respects you, whether they appreciate you, whether they stay or leave, you can't control any of that. And the Stoics were very clear about this. They called it the dichotomy of control. Your opinions, your choices, your effort, your character, those are yours. Everything else? It's external. It's outside your circle. Now think about how much energy you've spent worrying about things outside that circle. Hours spent replaying a conversation, instead of wondering what someone meant by that comment, crafting the perfect response to make someone like you more. That's not strength. That's exhaustion, dressed up as caring. There was a guy, let's call him Ryan, worked at the same company for 4 years. Every single project, he gave everything he had. Late nights, weekends. He skipped family dinners to finish reports. And every time his boss walked into the room, he'd feel that knot in his stomach, hoping, just hoping, that this time he'd get a nod of recognition. A simple, good job. Anything. It never came, and Rayon spent 3 years thinking the problem was him, that he needed to work harder, do more, be more. But the problem wasn't his effort. The problem was that he'd handed his self-worth over to someone who was never going to give it back. The moment you understand that your value doesn't live in someone else's opinion of you, that's the moment you stop degrading yourself for their approval. Focus on what you control. Let go of what you don't. That's not giving up. That's wisdom. This one might sting a little. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation where you're explaining, defending, justifying, and no matter what you say, it doesn't matter? The other person has already made up their mind, and you're standing there burning through your energy, trying to change something that's already set in stone. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that stayed with me. He said, roughly, that you don't need to waste words defending your character. Live it. Be it. And if someone still chooses not to see it, that's their limitation, not yours. When you over-explain yourself, what are you actually saying? You're saying, your opinion of me is so important that I need to justify my existence to you. And the moment you do that, you've already lowered yourself. Real dignity is quiet. It doesn't beg to be understood. I knew a woman once, incredibly talented, warm, genuinely kind. But she had this one person in her life, a sister-in-law, who always had something to say, always a comment, always a look, and every family gathering, this woman would spend the whole drive there preparing what she was going to say, how she was going to defend herself, how she was going to finally make this person understand. It never worked, because the sister-in-law didn't want to understand. She wanted to feel superior, and every defense gave her exactly what she wanted, proof that her words had power. The day this woman stopped explaining herself was the day everything shifted. She walked in. She was warm. She was calm. And when a comment came, she just smiled and moved on. The silence wasn't weakness. It was armor. You owe people your kindness. You don't owe them a courtroom defense of your worth. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The person who gets you to react controls you. The moment someone says something cutting and you fall apart, lose your temper, crumble, or lash out, they've just shown you exactly where your soft spot is. And they'll use it again. Epictetus, who was literally enslaved as a child, talked about this constantly. He said the most powerful thing a human being can possess is the ability to choose their response, not react. Respond. There's a huge difference. A reaction is automatic. It happens before you think. Someone insults you and you fire back. Someone ignores you and you chase harder. Someone disrespects you and you either explode or collapse. Reactions give your power away. A response is intentional. It's a pause, a breath, a choice. Think about the last time someone got under your skin. Maybe it was a comment at work, a passive-aggressive message, someone dismissing your idea in front of others. What did you do? Did you react? Did you spend the next 2 days replaying it in your head, crafting the perfect comeback that you never actually said? That's your emotional energy, and it was stolen from you, not by them, but by your own reaction. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization, not because they were pessimists, but because they wanted to be prepared. They'd think about what might go wrong, what someone might say, how they might be treated, and they'd practice mentally what a calm, dignified response would look like. You can do this too. Before you go into a difficult conversation, Pause. Breathe. Decide who you want to be in that moment before the moment arrives. Because when it arrives, if you haven't decided, your emotions will decide for you. And here's something worth remembering. Your calm in a storm is the most intimidating thing you can show someone trying to disturb your peace. Nothing frustrates someone trying to break you quite like seeing that you're fine. A lot of people confuse self-respect with ego. They think if you stand up for yourself, you're being difficult. If you say no, you're being selfish. If you walk away, you're being dramatic. That's a lie people tell you to keep you convenient. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. But I'd add this, we also suffer more in silence than we ever would in honesty. Because we're afraid that having standards will cost us love, will cost us belonging, will make people leave. But here's the quiet truth that took me a long time to understand. People who only stay when you have no standards weren't really staying for you. They were staying for the version of you that was easy to control. Self-respect isn't about being cold. It's not about walking around with your chin up and your chest out, refusing to be vulnerable. It's simpler than that. It's about knowing what you will and won't accept, and being willing to enforce it, not loudly, not angrily, but clearly. There's a story of a father and his teenage son. The son had a temper. He'd lash out, say cruel things, and then come back hours later as if nothing happened. And for years, the father just absorbed it. He told himself, he's young, he's struggling, he needs patience. But what the son was actually learning was this: you can treat this person however you want, and there are no consequences. He was learning that his father had no boundaries, and unconsciously, he was losing respect for him. The day the father calmly said, "I love you, but I won't be spoken to that way. When you're ready to talk like we respect each other, I'm here," and walked out of the room. Something shifted. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't punishment. It was just a line drawn with love. That's self-respect. Quiet, clear, immovable. You teach people how to treat you, not with lectures, but with what you allow. You're still here, and I want you to know that means something. Because this stuff isn't easy to sit with. It's one thing to nod along. It's another to actually feel it. To look at your own life and say, yeah, I've been doing this. I've been shrinking. I've been giving away pieces of myself and calling it love. But here's where things actually change. Not tomorrow, not when things get easier. Right now, in the middle of your ordinary, imperfect life, this is where the shift begins. Let's keep going. The fifth lesson. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. We live in a world that rewards noise. Everyone's talking, everyone's posting, everyone's performing, and there's this quiet pressure to respond to everything, every comment, every criticism, every person who questions you. Don't. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth and spent his nights writing private journal entries, not for the public, not for legacy, just for himself. He wasn't performing wisdom, he was practicing it, in silence, alone. The Stoics believed deeply in the power of restraint. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every wound needs to be shown. Not every injustice needs a public response. There's a kind of dignity in silence that people who are always reacting will never understand. I think about a situation many of us have faced. You're in a group, friends, co-workers, family, and someone makes a comment that's clearly aimed at you, a little dig. disguised as a joke, and everyone's watching to see how you'll react. Most people either laugh awkwardly, which feels like betraying yourself, or they fire back, which looks defensive and gives the other person exactly what they wanted. But the Stoic move? A small smile, eye contact, and then move on. No reaction, no explanation, no performance. Because here's what silence actually communicates. Your words don't move me. I don't need to defend myself against you. I know who I am. That's not weakness. That's the most powerful thing in the room. Choose your battles and win the important ones by not fighting the unnecessary ones. The sixth lesson: don't chase what isn't chasing you. This might be the hardest one, because this is where feelings get complicated. We've all been there. Someone who was warm becomes cold. Someone who was close starts pulling away. And instead of giving them space, we panic. We reach out more, we try harder, we ask more questions, we reread old messages trying to find where we went wrong. And in doing that, in chasing, we lose two things. We lose them faster, and we lose ourselves in the process. The Stoics were not cold people. Don't misunderstand. Seneca wrote some of the most tender, human letters ever written. But they understood something crucial about attachment. They said, love people, yes. Value relationships, yes. But don't make any single person the source of your peace. Because when you do that, when someone becomes the thing your entire calm depends on, you give them the power to destroy you. And that's not their fault. That's an unfair weight to put on another human being. Here's a small thing I want you to try. Next time you feel that pull to chase, to text again, to explain again, as to reach again, pause and ask yourself, if I do this, am I acting from love or from fear? Love reaches out. Fear chases. Love says, I care about you and I want you in my life. Fear says, please don't leave me. I'll change. I'll be whatever you need. Those are different things. And the Stoics would tell you, the moment you start negotiating your self-worth for someone's presence, you've already lost something more important than the relationship. You deserve people who choose you without being convinced. You deserve connection that doesn't require you to disappear. Let what's leaving leave. What's meant to stay will stay. And trust this. The right people won't make you chase them. The seventh lesson: your inner life is sacred. Guard it. This is the one that ties everything together. Everything we've talked about: controlling your reactions, setting limits, not chasing, staying silent. It all points to the same thing. The only place you truly live is inside yourself. Your thoughts, your values, your sense of who you are. And that inner world, it's under constant pressure from the outside. Other people's opinions, social media, news, criticism, comparison. Everyone always telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you're falling short. The Stoics called the inner self the hegemonikon, the ruling faculty, the part of you that decides, the part of you that can stay steady even when everything outside is chaos. Marcus Aurelius. And remember, this man was running an empire, dealing with war, plague, political betrayal, and the deaths of his children. Wrote this to himself: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Not peace somewhere in the future, not strength when things get easier. Strength right now, because of what's inside you, not what's around you. Your inner life is the one thing no one can touch unless you let them in. And here's how degradation actually starts. It doesn't start with someone insulting you. It starts when you invite their voice into your inner world and let it stay. When you replay their criticism on loop, when you let someone else's bad opinion become your own internal narrative. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am too much. Maybe I am not enough. Maybe I should just be smaller. That voice, that's not truth. That's an intruder, and you have every right to remove it. Guard your mind like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Bringing it all together, the full picture. Let me tell you something about all 7 of these lessons. They're not about becoming cold. They're not about becoming hard. They're not about closing yourself off from the world or deciding people are the enemy. Quite the opposite. When you stop degrading yourself, when you stop shrinking, chasing, over-explaining, over-apologizing, something unexpected happens. You become warmer. Because you're no longer coming from a place of fear and need. You're giving from a place of fullness. You become more patient. Because you're not constantly drained by battles that weren't yours to fight. You become more loving. Because love that doesn't come with self-destruction is real love. It's clean. It's sustainable. Think about the most dignified person you know. Maybe it's someone in your life. Maybe it's someone you've read about. That quality they have, that calm, that groundedness. It's not because life has been easy for them. It's because they decided somewhere along the way to stop letting the world determine their worth. That decision is available to you right now, today. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need to begin. I want to leave you with something real. There's a version of you, maybe you remember them, who didn't second-guess every word, who didn't apologize for existing, who walked into a room without calculating whether they were too much or too little, who loved freely and set limits clearly and lived without that constant low hum of anxiety about what everyone else thought. That person isn't gone. They got buried under years of be smaller, under years of chasing approval that never came, under years of letting other people's voices become your inner voice. But they're still in there. Stoicism isn't about becoming a different person. It's about clearing away everything that was never really you to begin with. Your dignity isn't something you earn back. It was always yours. It just got covered up. So here's what I want you to walk away with. Not a list, not a system, just this. The next time someone tries to make you feel small, pause. Remember that you are not required to absorb their discomfort. You are not required to shrink. You are not required to perform for their approval or beg for their respect. You can be kind. You can be warm. You can even be compassionate toward them, but you don't have to disappear to do it. Stand in your own life. Take up the space you were given. Speak when it matters. Stay silent when it's wiser. Let things leave that need to leave. Hold on to what's real, and above everything else, protect that quiet, honest, dignified place inside you, because that's where you actually live, and that is worth protecting. If something in this video hit you, if it felt like something you needed to hear, I'm really glad it found you. Consider subscribing if you want more of this. We talk about real things here, real struggles, real philosophy, real life, and share this with someone who might need it today. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do for someone is just say, "Hey, you're not alone in this. Take care of yourself." And I'll see you in the next one.